I'm going to go ahead and take roll. So
Yes,
Oh.
let's do the pledge first. It reminded me. Pledge allegiance to the flag. United States of America. And difficulty.
So when I call your name, you can just say here or present. Bud Mather.
Here.
Vince Adams. Still waiting. Aaron Barstead.
Here.
Joe Gray. Still waiting. Frank Gallagher.
Here.
Kelsey Young.
Here.
Jason Ogden.
Here.
And Michael Hildebrand. And one little note of housekeeping with that, if you can please press the rectangle button on your mics when you go to talk. That way we can hear you on the recording.
You got a green light, you're good.
When it's green, your mic is hot. If you want to just click it again, however you want to do it.
And we'll remind you too, so don't worry about it. So since we have some new members, I'm just going to go over a couple housekeeping items. So welcome to Aaron and Michael. We also are going to have Joe Graybill. I know Vince is definitely coming later, so hopefully we'll see him in a few minutes. But we're so excited to have some new members on this committee. So Michael, you were appointed as an alternate because Vince can only attend every other meeting. So in the chance that he does not show up, we will include you in all our votes, but you're welcome to come to every meeting, participate in discussion. It'll just depend on when we take a vote from you or not. Okay.
Can I add one more piece to
Yes,
that too?
please.
If anybody is not here and you want to fill that role, so if you wanted to come to every meeting, you can help guarantee that we have a quorum, but don't feel like you have to. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, and then also just a little bit of piece. So when this committee was reformed last fall, we were supposed to do alternating term limits just to guarantee we're not all turning over at the same time. So Frank, if you are okay with this, since we already had some established committee members, I would like for them to have the 4-year limits and the new members to have the 2-year limits, and then we'll just keep that rolling with 4-year terms past that. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. So, and
Posted
then
at the diet.
welcome. And then, so for things like the minutes or taking action, we always require a motion and a second. Those typically do not come from the chair. So if you would like to support something, you can move to approve or move to take some action. Someone will second, and then we'll take a voice vote of aye or nay or abstain. So we're going to go ahead and do that with the minutes. I've included those in your packet. If you need a few minutes to review them, let me know. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion in a second and a vote. You can simply say, I move to approve the minutes, and someone can second.
Okay. These are online too, right? Okay, good.
Would you like to be brave and make the motion?
I'm going to make the motion that we approve the meeting, the minutes of the last meeting.
So the chair typically doesn't move. So I'll
Okay.
need one of the committee members
Okay.
to make a motion. And Michael, since we only have the 4, you are also free to move in second. There you go. I may have a second from another member, not the chair.
I'd second that.
Thank you, Mr. Mather. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries.
Okay, we'll move on to old business.
So
And we'll-
updates on First Avenue closure.
All right. So I'm actually quite excited about this. We're not quite as far as we wanted to be, but our engineering technician has been working on it. Our public works team has been working on it. And what we would like to do is create a workshop for council that this group would be welcome to attend. If not, if you don't want to attend, you don't have to. We will still present it for you. And it would be to have a workshop that would go over the plans to go ahead and temporarily barricade this off. It would have us allow for public input, and then we would barricade it off for about 6 months, get additional public input, and then make a plan on what we want to do long term. We've already met with chief and with fire, and so far we are ready to move forward with that step if this committee would like to make a recommendation to do so. So we would have a workshop at one of the council meetings in March, either the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday. And I've already gone over it with the mayor and some of the council members, so they're prepared to have this workshop. I would recommend that we do it the first meeting or the first council meeting in March, with the idea that then it could be voted on the second council meeting in March. But that's just my recommendation that I wanted to mention to the rest of this group.
And just to remind everyone, we did already get the committee approval to move forward with the staff plan to council. So we don't technically need a vote if you don't want to take one.
But I want to make sure you all are happy with this idea.
Do we have any information on speed and the amount of traffic?
So yes, a little bit of background for those of you who are new. This has been an ongoing issue for multiple years, and this committee has met on this a few times now. There is information that there is some speeding, and Sean Morgan can speak to it a little bit more as well. It's a very narrow road, and then there's also, but it's not narrow enough to slow down speeding. It's one of those that should have never actually been built the way that it was built, because as it is, it's creating a shortcut through a neighborhood, and it should have been created differently because it is a residential area. And so it's been definitely causing issues. I still hear from people in that community every few weeks or so, because they're concerned about their children and they won't have their children play out front and so forth. I met personally with our fire chief about this topic, and he likes very much the idea of us doing it for 6 months, with the idea that then we can see, does it cause any issues with some of the other intersections? How much is this impacting the public? And then we can also hear from the residents of that neighborhood as well. Our chair, Frank Gallagher, also worked on getting a petition out there. Not a petition, but just a survey of reaching out to all of the residents, and everybody came back on that street as in favor of that, I think with the exception of the two who weren't there.
That's correct.
Yes. So the residents are in favor of this idea, and I think we're ready to move forward. And as Cecily stated before, this was voted on to go ahead and move forward with staff's plan, but we've modified it a little bit. And so and we have some new people, so I just wanted to bring it back and just discuss that one last time before we went ahead and made it public.
So where would the barricade go?
So the barricade, and we're working with ODOT and our TSP plan here, but our barricade would go, just right about there, so that this was a dead end.
Okay, so I guess because I haven't heard of this at all. I go to the Elks Lodge from Elm Street on foot, So I come up 228. I come down first and I loop around the Elks. But I know that the streets, my concern would be that people would cut on the road right before this, hang a left, and now they're back on the street just by doing a little jog 1 block up the road there.
And that's possible. That's one of the reasons why we want to do this temporarily. What we're really trying to do is direct traffic down to the light where they're
Yes.
supposed to go.
Oh, I know.
And so, and then my dream that we may get to at some point would then to be actually turn this space into a parking lot, a larger parking lot, so that you could access Clover Park from the 20. We can expand that park a little bit. It would also allow for some additional walkability to some of the other areas around there. And it would make this park a lot more usable because right now it's really hard to park. And this is a park that honors some of our police officers. It honors some of our military. There's a few things going on with that park. And I think it's important that it's more accessible and becomes a little bit more of a showpiece for the community. But again, that's my opinion and that's my dream. But that's one of the things that we've been exploring, the idea of if we did close down First Avenue permanently, we could do something like that.
So will we have access to law enforcement or the speed trailer on 2 wheels? What's that called?
The radar,
radar.
radar trailer.
To set up on the side streets? Because I already know because I follow the crowd from Lebanon into Sweet Home, and I see cars peeling off and going up first, and I don't because it's not a benefit to me. But I would imagine in the beginning they're all going to be circumventing it after a day, and then we could have data on that and then go from there. But I would agree that street is horrific. Yeah. So doing nothing to me would be silly.
Chief, do you want to speak on?
So yeah, Sean, what's the status of the radar trailer? Is it?
The radar trailer is, this is on working.
Yes.
Radar trailer is currently over at Public Works. It's not functional right now. It retains a charge for a day or two. I think the solar panels need to be replaced, maybe. I think they can be done relatively inexpensively, possibly from Amazon, or we can get a new trailer. But I think we might be able to get that thing up and running. It's really a Tommy question, though.
Okay. So yeah, we do have, I mean, it sounds like we can probably get that up and running sometime soon. And yeah, I mean, that thing can go pretty much anywhere.
Does it retain any data?
No, our trailer doesn't. We have this. It does?
It does, just like the rest of the signs, but I think all of that data is suspect at this point. I think it's all.
I thought the signs were the
I
only
don't
ones.
trust any of it. Like, so based on we're trying to figure out counting it.
Oh, counting?
Yeah, well, based on the counting, that means we're actually, sorry, based on the counting, means we're hitting multiple cars and recording them as the same car as multiple points of data. Because it's counting 500 cars a day on 12th Avenue or on First Avenue. The radar sign that was up there is it. So 500 per hour, not day, per hour. If that's true, we know from being up there for a 45-minute period that there's approximately 160 cars per hour in the 4 to 6 p.m. range. That means it's counting the same car at multiple speeds. So if we're seeing a car come in at 50 miles an hour and then then they slam on the brakes, we might read it at 50, 35, 25, and we're counting that car 3 times. So we don't know how many
But
speeders
sure.
there really are.
But I guess my thought on that is at least you have a top speed in there, right? Yeah, I mean, you could,
top speed, but
yeah.
then we have lots of potentially lower speeds, or someone who's racing that sign deciding to crank it up, and we might have some even higher speeds as a result of that too, where they're measured at multiple points in their braking or speeding up. And I haven't heard back from MPH Industries. called them and said, please tell me how this works. And they haven't called me back yet. So
Can you get another quote on another radar?
Trailer,
Trailer,
or would
too.
you, trailer or a sign? What do you think?
Let's get quotes on both.
Okay.
trailers
Let's
like
discuss.
7,000, like $7,000. Signs are 5-ish. So that's I think that's the ballpark when we looked at it last time.
Okay.
So
Yeah, let's discuss offline because I think we might need some more data. And we've been talking about this for a while. So,
The
and it's
signs
budget
are-
time.
Signs
So,
are movable too, right? They just attach to a pole.
the signs are movable.
Yeah.
So
they're
I don't know exactly how that works.
kind of
But-
particular about where they put them. They need to have the right kind of spot. Just because of some incidents they've had trying to put them on, take them off. So there's only certain places they like to put them. So our guys can move that around, go evaluate that spot and decide whether they can put one there.
Where the
Try to find a
trailer
spot
is
where they
pretty
can.
easy.
Trailer can go
Yeah.
just to
Okay.
a lot of places.
Sean, do you think as we look at a trailer or sign, there's got to be some out there that are better than others as far as picking up individual vehicles, or no?
Well, it's the radar question. So
Yeah.
what we're seeing with radar and how you differentiate the radar reading, a human can go, I radared that car,
Yeah, that's true.
but that sign doesn't know unless there's some AI out there that's working with it. And I don't know that yet. So I've just, Frank caused this the other day. So
It's my problem. Yeah, I
he
started.
asked me a question that didn't make sense. The answer didn't make sense. And I had to start,
Well, yeah, it
I
was-
started using a calculator and going, well, this doesn't work.
Yeah, it
So-
wasn't it First Avenue? That,
right. It was about First Avenue.
Yeah.
And can I add to that also? I have noticed that that sign up the street is actually reading some of the cars that are going east-west is picking up. So I think that's why the numbers are skewed.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
It's kind
Oh.
of the limitation of radar.
Yeah.
Where it's at right now is an east-west road. There shouldn't be any cross traffic that's angled at all. So we might be able to see something from that. I'll make sure to check it this week and see if we can get an idea. And then maybe we can go out and do an actual count for an hour or something.
Yeah.
So unless somebody wants to make a motion to vote on this differently, if you don't do anything, this would just move forward to council. So.
And that means that they're going to close it for 6 months as a trial.
So that means council would decide if, because all we can do in this committee is make recommendations.
Cool.
So council would decide, and they might decide to modify it to make it one way, whatever that they might decide to do.
You've considered having the signage as well as the barricades up there at like First Avenue and Holly Road, as well as perhaps a lead sign on Main Street and First Avenue.
I think we definitely need a lot of signage in order
Yeah.
to make all of this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rather like the idea of doing it temporarily. I mean, cones and hard barricades will go a long ways towards practicing the traffic to find alternative routes, whether they're good or bad ones. Well, I'm definitely in favor of it.
Cool. I like it too because it gives the community a while to discuss it if there are any concerns. And I personally have a few concerns about that intersection of 20 and 228, particularly the left turn onto Long Street or the left turn off of Long Street. And so that's the other thing I want to watch. So that gives us about 6 months to review that, see if it's an issue or if everybody has just been able to handle it.
Yeah. And the only way to do that is to block it off and test it.
Mhm.
I have seen some county emergency personnel go up and down First Avenue. I mean, takes another minute or two out of their travel time to a problem or emergency. So that's a issue to consider as well.
That's actually the very reason why I met with Nick Tyler on that. And so that they can kind of monitor that as well. As it is, they're not concerned, but they do like having the 6 months to see if there is any potential issue. All right, cool. I'm going
Yeah.
to take the silence. That means
Or anybody else have any comments?
Okay. Sometimes it clicks, sometimes not. Anyway, I would definitely like to put us on record of a motion to accept a trial time period and testing out the process. And it may not work and there may be a lot of problems. I think it probably will solve some problems and provide at least an opportunity to have some uh, extra capability of parking at the park. Primarily, though, I think it's the travel issues of vehicles on First Avenue. So I would make a motion that we go on record in the approval of this, of the testing for 6 months.
can I do a little housekeeping? So technically, you'd be making a motion to stay with the motion that we already did, and that would be to recommend this process moving forward to council.
So be it.
Okay.
Would someone like to second?
Second the motion.
Okay, if that's it, we should move on then to,
I do need to take a vote. So all those in favor, say aye.
I
Any opposed? Okay, great.
okay, we're good. All right, let's move on to the school district traffic safety improvements.
Okay, fantastic. I get to talk some more. But I'm really excited about this, so I do not mind at all. So what we are working on, and we are working on this with the transportation system plan. We're working on it with ODOT. We have numerous engineers involved. So this is serious. This is actually, us moving forward with all of this. So what we're trying to do is we want four-way stops at every school. And so before you see just 3, but this is what we're going to start with. We've been getting quotes on getting stop signs, and they're actually pretty economical. So our public works team has been working on that, and they've also been looking at how much time it would take our public works team crew. We'd have to have good weather, and it would take them about a week to go through and put in all of these stop signs. Each stop sign only takes about an hour to put in, but then it takes 2 days to set and to get locked in and all of these other various pieces. So, so these are the 3 before you, and we're hoping to have the rest by our workshop in March. So these are just drafts. They're still being worked on. But as you can see, let's start with Longstreet and 15th. That's where you are, right? Yep. So we're working on, as you can see, it's a little bit funky on just some of the way that some of the design is being structured. And that is because Chief Ogden and Captain Cummings brought up a very, very good point on the fact that if you're pulling out of parking lots, it changes who has the right of way and so forth. So that's one of the things that we're currently working on to try to make this a 4-way stop all the way around. So it's a little weird, but it creates a little bit of that extra barrier, which should create some additional pedestrian safety. Then we also have Mountain View and 22nd, and we're looking at the crosswalks and the stop signs right there.
And sick.
Yeah. So we already have the crosswalks, but going ahead and creating the 4-way stop. Well, I guess it'd be a 3-way stop, but we'll put a stop sign just for the deer. So the 3-way stop there, which we think will really, really help. So that one is one of the other ones that we want to bring to that same workshop. And then we have Elm and 6, which is right in front of Oak Heights. And so, like I said, we're still working on them. But the goal is to have all the ones that we talked about, all 4-way stops. So, any thoughts on this?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Lots of stop signs.
So-
Well,
I'm excited about it too, especially on Long Street, because it is a pain to try to turn left off of 15th Avenue and head east during school hours, especially around lunch and after school.
So my question would be, because she brought it up that the change there at that particular location would create some kind of, I can't remember how you said that now, but it was different because it was coming out of a parking lot. And I don't understand how that changed that, because a stop sign, regardless of where it's posted, is a stop sign now. In some areas, from what I understand, coming out of a parking lot is an implied stop, generally speaking, but we don't know, that doesn't always occur. But if you're putting a 4-way stop in there, the same rules would apply at any other stop sign that's got, or intersection that has a 4-way stop, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And it'd just be an education for those coming out of that parking lot to understand that and figure that out as how 4-way stops work.
Yes. I mean, and that's what we're trying to do here, because I mean, it is a parking lot right there. So, I mean, we want to make it so that everyone has to stop and wait,
Right.
according to the rules. So,
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
so technically, from what I understand by Oregon law, a parking lot has less right of way than the roads. And correct me, Chief, if I'm wrong. So we're taking a little piece of that parking lot and
Mhm.
making it a road.
right.
So then it's
That-
all exactly equal, so that there's no question
So that it
about who.
applies as
Yeah.
The
needed,
way a
Yes.
4-way
and
stop
there's no
should.
wiggle room.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. That explained that part of it.
Yep.
So I'd like to speak on the Mountain View deal right there. You don't have a current picture up there, obviously. So what the barrack or the boundaries that they put in there, I think was great, is a great idea. I think they were just a little bit, and I might have addressed this before, they're just a little bit too large. Was one of the issues. And then the other issue, and I never got a chance to double check, was the slickness of that surface. I don't know if they got back up there after we had a discussion and fixed that, because I don't walk that. I know other people that do.
So the slickness hasn't been resolved just yet, but there is a plan to do so.
Okay.
As far as the barricades, we're discussing that with the school district, and we're discussing what's going to make the most sense, and if we're going for the 4-way stop, if we're still going to have it that way, or if we're going to modify it,
Mhm.
and so forth. So you'll still continue to see some changes with
Okay.
that particular intersection.
It is helping with that spot right there, but it didn't slow any normal traffic down in that area at all. Even during school times, it really didn't change much, other than the fact that when they get to that spot, if they're making that turn, if they're going straight through, there's been very little change in traffic speeds and stuff like that up there. Hopefully the stop signs will take care of that.
I hope so. Another thing just to be aware of, we don't know the time frame on this, and we don't know if it'll get approved, but one of the things that we're working towards, that we're trying to hopefully put in our next year's budget, will be sidewalks going along all the way along Mountain View past the junior high. It wouldn't be on both sides, it'd just be on one side, all the way along. So we'll see, but knock on wood, that's one of our priorities. So
And I would add, as far as you had concerns about speed in the area, we've actually had officers out there quite a bit recently stopping people. So hopefully that's making a difference around the school zones. So
I've seen you guys there when I've dropped my kiddos off.
Yes,
So appreciate that.
yeah, we've been hitting
Yeah, we
them.
appreciate all the support you guys give us up there, so.
The other side of Mountain View as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Oak Heights, I'll speak on the Oak Heights because I'm up there periodically getting my grandkids out of there and sometimes I take them to school. And that's still kind of a hit and miss deal up there. It is a tight area up in there, but occasionally if I'm standing there waiting for the girls to get out, there's that occasional car that wants to zip through there a little faster than they should be. So as long as this moves forward and we're looking at that, I'll be a happy camper when it happens. And so will some of the other parents because I hear the comments, so I'm standing.
Great.
So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Perfect. I'd like to take it to council next month. Also, we are looking at a 4-way stop in front of Hawthorne at Hawthorne and Clark Mill.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, which I think we're going to need, just regardless, we're getting more students there. There's going to be additional building in that area. So,
And we've had some complaints in the area too.
Yeah.
I think would slow people down.
all right. How do we feel about the idea of taking this to council as a recommendation next month?
Somebody need to make a motion for that?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to take what we just discussed forward to the city council and make a recommendation to them as the direction we want to go.
Do I
I'll
hear a
second that.
To that.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Okay, I guess if there's no more comments on that, on the safety improvements, we'll move on to new business. First thing on the list is election of the vice chair. If there's anybody that would like to step into the breach or someone you would like to nominate, this would be the time if everybody feels that they're up for it at this time.
So essentially, when the committee was formed, Frank was nominated as the chair, and the chair typically they run the meetings and keep things moving. So it would just be in Frank's absence, we would need a vice chair to step in and fill that role.
Joe, do you want to step up?
Like to give somebody else a volunteer chance, but I could do it. On the off chance that you're not here. So
Oh.
always be here.
There's no off chance on this.
Yeah.
I'm not volunteering for anything. I learned that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So Bud, would you like to move to recommend Joe?
Yes, I would recommend Joe.
Would someone like to second the
I'll second
nomination?
that motion.
Could I have a vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving right along, what about speed trailers? I know we got into that briefly. I think if there's any more discussion on that,
no, I think we'll just do some research
Okay.
and see what it's going to cost and what's going to be best.
I have done a little research on that, and it kind of depends on what you want. If you want one that data collection, et cetera, they can run pretty pricey, or you can get the basic ones, which are basically a speed sign, solar powered. The price is, of course, is all over the place depending on how technical you want to get with it.
Sure.
Talk to Tommy tomorrow, try to find out more about, see what kind of solar panels we have. It's feasible.
What about tickets statistics?
Yeah, so for everyone who's new here, this past year, council made it a priority that they wanted to see traffic enforcement in town. And so they authorized a traffic officer position. Now, the only way that we can put that full time is if we're at full staff, which sometimes can be very difficult here at Sweet Home, as many of you probably know. So we are full staff, but we still have 2 officers right now that are in the academy, and they will graduate in May, and they'll have some time in training here. So by summertime, sometime they should be good to go on their own. And at that time, I will open up that position and formalize it. But in the meantime, one of the things that we came up with was we recently put a school resource officer back in our schools, and we wanted to kind of make it's mostly an SRO position, but to try to combine that with some traffic enforcement, especially around the school zones, because we want our kids safe. And with a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about around the schools with stop signs and crosswalks, we thought, hey, let's pay close attention to these school zones. And if there's free time, we'll go out and work other areas that we're getting complaints. And so just real briefly, our traffic statistics last year for 2023 are way up than from what they were before. A large reason for that is, most of we were short-staffed there for a couple of years. Like literally, we lost half of our staff a few years back, and so we were just sucking wind to try to keep up with calls for service, and traffic enforcement wasn't a huge priority at that time. And so, but I'll just tell you, last year, as far as citations issued, that went up 36%. So it went up from 287 to 449 compared to 2022. Our warnings, our total persons cited went up 30%. So from 194 to 277. Total warnings issued went up 38% from 828 in 2022 to 1,348 in 2023. And then total traffic stops went up 37, almost 38% from 1,018 to 1,639. So pretty significant increase in traffic enforcement. And I'm really hoping that, it's making a difference in the community for our, speeding downtown and in the safety in the school zones. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. And we'll see. I think that I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that we'll even increase this year as we hopefully formalize, this position to be full-time. And I, just from what I hear on the radio right now and just kind of notice throughout the day, I feel like they're already way up. So there you have it for traffic statistics and traffic officer position. So.
Okay, I think that pretty well covers that. We talked a little bit about 22nd Mountain View, the crosswalk. Is there any more comments on that?
I'd like to make one comment, just as an aside, that human nature being what it is, I definitely like the additional stop signs. I would be very much prepared to spend at least a month or 2 or 3 with advanced warning signs and the expectations that people will go through them. And I fault myself in a particular case when 22nd Avenue and Long Street became a 4-way.
I think
it was about a
yeah.
month or so after that, and I did all the paperwork, and I knew exactly what was there and blew through the stop sign in front of a school bus.
Yeah.
So it does happen.
Yeah.
So advanced warning for a while is recommended.
Yeah, I agree. I was one of those that, you're a creature of habit. And until you get used to having something new there, that says you need to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely.
Yeah, I know. You're prepared.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, do we paint the word stop also when we add a stop sign on the road? Because if we're not, it'll really help increase people to stop, especially if the sign's never been there. So I noticed a difference in Corvallis. They added a stop sign and people were running it. I'm in a bus. I drive a bus in Corvallis, city bus, and they put out the traffic change signage, and yet people were still running the stop sign because they never had it before. They weren't seeing it. They painted the road, and it seemed like overnight people were, almost every car was stopping. So I know it costs money then to maintain, and But if you want to increase effectiveness when you add a stop sign, and you can research it, I think you increase the effectiveness by painting the word stop where the new signs are. The old ones, they didn't add the word stop to the opposite, only the new stop signs on the intersection. And, you know, they figured they'd save money because everyone was already stopping at the cross intersection. But anyway, so do you guys paint? I didn't even notice.
We don't, but I think it's worth us at least looking into and exploring for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Sean, didn't you do some research on paint at one time?
Joe and I were discussing at one point repainting Mountain View and 12th Avenue. Joe and I were discussing that a couple years ago, repainting 12th Avenue and Mountain View to try to change the lanes and kind of control,
That's what it was. I was
kind of shrink that path. So,
Right. That was a lane change,
Right.
lane width restriction.
We discussed putting some words that making bigger school zones and out there in the middle of the lane 2 up there at Mountain View.
Yes,
think-
I've noticed that some of the school zone signs, not school zone signs, the stencils on the pavement have been wearing down. And I certainly agree that, you know, even at least in the short term for the first year or so, stop as a stencil. The stop bars probably do need to go in there as well. Crosswalks, people get used to them, and crosswalks are often used like a stop bar. But to have a stop bar painted specifically a few feet in front of the crosswalk, anything will help when it gets to that point.
And I think paint is fairly economical way
Yeah.
to change some of the things. So I think that would be a really good thing to explore. I mean, I want lots of painted crosswalks and things too, just so that they're a lot more noticeable and visible for our traffic as they're going through. So maybe that's a whole other conversation we need to have, is what we want to do with paint.
I would think that when they periodically redo the crosswalks because they wear down, that they could do that bar at the same time because they're already there doing the crosswalk. So when we go that direction, that would be the way to do it, you know, for upkeep.
Okay, for the good of the order, does anybody have anything they would like to add to bring into the next meeting?
I just want to mention one thing. The TSP is almost complete, so I don't know if there's other things that need to be brought up, but I think it would be good to discuss that if there are any additional transportation plan concerns. So maybe we can just add it to the agenda for next time, and y'all can just think on that.
Okay.
There's a draft or review draft copy by then, or
There probably will be.
okay.
We'll see. It's taking longer than I expected, but it is getting close.
Okay, if I can, I would like to add a comment or two here. Getting back to speed trailers and things of that nature. I think that a vehicle counter would be very beneficial. There's a lot of data that can be collected with that as far as volume of traffic, whether that street is designed to carry that much traffic. There's a lot of benefit from those. And so I'd like to put that on the agenda for next.
So I actually just approved one this week. So, yeah, absolutely. So we can still talk about it next time, but we can also discuss if it needs to even, do you need more?
I think we can
let's
put it
start
where
with
we
one.
need to.
Okay.
Right.
I don't think we need more.
Okay. So we can give a report on if it's
Sweet.
been ordered but next time.
Good. Okay, if that is everything, the meeting is adjourned. Hey.
Hey, that's nice.
Joe, this is one of my favorite committees. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't believe no